inspiration, time for me to chime in. Comfy clothes on, feeling just fine. I'm busy right now, it's craft and show time. My craft and show is on, it's my time for me. Laughter, tips and tricks, this is what I need. We're here to have fun, we're all in the zone. When crafting with friends, you're never alone. The hosts came on, they are truly a gem. Here for the show and to chat with my friends. Chat with each other about this and that. We share ideas, wisdom, and other fun facts. My craft and show is on, it's my time for me.
Live from the Sunshine State in Miami, Florida, here is the Gifted Crafters Morning Show with Nancy.
Let's have a good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Hey, Gifted Crafters, and good morning. Welcome to the Gifted Crafters Morning Show. I see people from all over the place tuning in this morning, and it is Happy Monday. Yes, it is back again. We're set for another week of some fun, and I see people from, let's see, we've got Philly over here. Here's my friends from Canada, Alabama, Maryland. Let's see, we've got San Antonio, Texas. Good morning, good morning. All righty, awesome. Okay, so we are ready for yet another week of some wonderful quilting here and some fun, because we're gonna do something a little bit new, and we're going to do it together, and it's going to be great. So if you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Nancy with GiftsHQ, and these are just some daily sessions that I like to have in the morning to kind of jumpstart our day, get our creative juices flowing so we can just, go off and do some wonderful projects together. So sometimes I do some little demos, sometimes we look at some products, and we talk about all kinds of things ranging from sewing, quilting, and we're going to have so many more different crafts that I can't wait to show you guys. Alrighty. Hey, Crafty Puerto Rican. Hey, Flo. Alrighty. Robin's Quilt Basket. Joyce, Becky, Sue, Jenny. Awesome. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Alrighty. So we're ready to go. And if, again, you're tuning in for the first time, don't forget, on this channel, we like to kind of grab our little drink and get ourselves into our nice little cozy spot. So go ahead and grab your whatever it is that you have in the morning, whether it be coffee, tea, water, soda, who knows? There's so many different things. So just go ahead and grab your favorite little drink and get yourself nice and comfortable so we can spend our hour together. I'm having my ice water today. It was a little hot this morning because, man, it is hot here in Miami. It is very, very hot. I mean, I think it was like, I don't know, 5 in the morning, and it was already like 70-something degrees outside. So it was like, man, that's hot, and the sun hasn't even come out yet, really. So it's crazy. It's going to be one of those hot weeks again. We had a little bit of a stormy weather, so some welcome rain, so that was good. but now the heat is back. So yeah, little ice water to cool me down. So go ahead and grab your favorite drink. I'm going to grab a sip here. Okay, I think we're ready to get started. And yes, food truck is here. For those of you that are not sure what that is, we've got a virtual food truck that has all kinds of goodies that it holds for you. And I think that is coming down the road here. There it is. So it's got all your favorite little snacks. You can feel free to grab anything that you like. They're all calorie free. We've got things from all kinds of stuff like coffee, tea, muffins. We even got some donuts in there. And don't forget, we also have some healthy snacks too, like kale and carrots, for those of you who like to do your juicing in the morning. Okay, so now that we've got our snacks, we've got our favorite little drink, I think we're ready to get started. And we've got a few things to kind of talk about today. So first off, we said we were going to do Pumpkin Hill, and Pumpkin Hill is a book that has an applique. It's a whimsical type of applique quilt, and it's by Annie Sutton, and I think it's really, really pretty. Let's see if I can hold this without the glare. There you go. I think that's a little better. It's very whimsical, very, very pretty. But it is a quite large quilt. I can tell you here, let's see if I can grab the dimensions again. I know it was 57. See if I can grab that page again. It always runs away from me when I'm looking for it. But it is a quite large quilt. It does come with your applique as well, and here it is. It finishes at 57.5 by 65.5. So yeah. Oh, guys, we're having technical issues all morning, and it looks like the camera just froze again, and it's been doing that all morning. We've had a really rough time, so give us a minute. Let's see if we can get that back going. In the meantime, I'll just keep talking to you. And I think you can hear me okay. But it's the camera. The camera is giving us some issues here. But let's see. We'll see what we can do to kind of get that back. But I can tell you a little bit about the book itself. It's a pretty large quilt that can be broken up into many different pieces. And I don't think I'm going to be doing the entire quilt. I think I'm just going to take pieces of it and do possible little wall hangings. Okay, I think we are back. Okay, guys. Sorry about that. It may happen again. We're just having little issues this morning. You can hear me? Okay, great. Thanks, Connie. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. It's just one of those days, you know, you got those technical issue days, and today's the technical issue day for us. Yeah, we've had issues with the camera. We've had issues with all kinds of stuff today. Yeah, it looks like we froze again. Let's see. Oh, no. The overhead, I think it's just the overhead that froze. Okay, so anyway, we are going to go ahead and we're going to look at Pumpkin Hill. And it is an applique. It's a whimsical type of quilt, and it is quite large. But what I really liked about this book is that you have many pieces that you can make. So from this quilt, I can get a couple little wall hangings from it, but I can also get maybe a little piece that you can put on your table if you'd like, you know, some decorative pieces that are really nice for the upcoming fall season. So I think that, you know, you can really get a lot out of this quilt. It's not just the one big quilt. Of course, if you want to make a big quilt, you can. But you know, I think it's going to be really, really nice putting this together. And then on top of that, the book does explain there's two different techniques that they talk about on here. And it talks about needle turn applique, and then it also talks about a spray starch applique. And these are two different techniques that you can use to do your applique on this quilt. One I had never heard of, which was new to me. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of it, but the spray starch applique, I have heard of needle turn applique, and I'm pretty familiar with that, but spray starch applique to me really was something new. I had never heard of it. And apparently, according to the book, it says that this is a more beginner-friendly type of technique, although it had more steps to it. So we talked a little bit more in detail on that last week, so I'm not going to get into all the technical pieces of it, but I do want to try both of these methods. But then I also wanted to kind of take my applique and run it through my brother's scan and cut, and then try to see if I can kind of get this through that machine and through my embroidery machine to see if I can tack it down. So the pattern that I'm going to be using from the book is the really small. We're going to start off very, very small. Just this part right here with the two little acorns on it. That's going to be my little wall hanging that I'm going to do. And I picked this one specifically because it was very small and seemed like a very simple design from the applique sheet. So I'm looking at it here, and it's really only 3 pieces. So I think it's the perfect opportunity to kind of take things really small, break it down, and then try to do something very simple before you get into some more complex pieces that can really drive you nuts. So we want to build up our confidence on that. Oh, Robin says she's done spray starch applique and you don't like it as well as the needle turn. Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, it just seemed like it has a lot of steps, but it does indicate that is the beginner friendly one, which I thought was kind of odd, but you know, I guess we could try it. We'll see. Who knows, right? But anyway, this one, if you look at it, you have the little stem, you have the top, and then you have the bottom. So it's really just 3 pieces that we're dealing with on this applique. So it really shouldn't be too bad to kind of put together. So I'm hoping that this is, you know, going to be something easy to do. We'll see what we can tackle with that machine. Okay. So that's what we're going to be working on this week. And I hope that you guys can follow me along with my journey on just making that little wall hanging. And I'm also going to do it a little bit different from the book. So because I'm doing this as a wall hanging, I'm going to be using the quilt as you go method. And then we're going to be quilting the background fabric. And I'm going to be doing that with my sewing machine, although you can do it on your embroidery machine as well. We'll talk about that a little bit. And if you wanted to do that method, you can as well. But it's just, you know, it's just there's so many different ways to do one thing. So I like to kind of, you know, let you guys know, you know, if you don't like this method, you could do that method. It's just so many different ways, right? So I like to kind of point that out to all of you here. So that's what we'll be working on this week. But then I also wanted to let you guys know about we had a little deal going on. And this was, let's see, it was at Connecting Threads. So connectingthreads.com, they had a little sale going on their threads. And so I was able to pick up this, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It's a 10-pack of some 100% cotton thread here, and got it at a pretty good deal. So I don't think the sale is still on anymore. I'm not 100% sure, but you may want to check out their site to see what they have. So I was able to pick that up. So that did come in. So I was really happy that that came in. And then I also picked up a book by Annie's Quilting, and it's called Say It with Quilted Skinnies. And I thought that was pretty neat because they're just 8 different little wall hangings that you can do. And those are really cool. They're applique as well. And you can do all kinds of different, really nice little wall hangings. So I figured, you know, if I'm going to be practicing to do this with my scan and cut, I think these types of items will be really perfect to kind of do that, you know, with, because it's a little bit easy. It's smaller to handle. And I think it's be nice practice to kind of run through that. So those are the things that I have. I mean, this book is pretty neat too. I may just try to do a little wall hanging at a later time, but I'm going to put this one off to the side because we've already dedicated ourselves to pumpkin health. So we're going to tackle that one. I may come back later and try to do something. Because the wall hangings, I mean, they're just really cute. There's some that are really, really cute. I really love this wash and dry one. I thought that was really neat to hang in my laundry room. So I may come back to this one here. So more to come on that one. Okay. So I think we are better now with our camera here. Hopefully we'll stay on. We'll see how this goes. Okay. So one of the things that we're going to take a look at is, you know, cutting out the fabric. We're going to do this right from the start, scratch all the way from the beginning so you guys can really see it step by step. So this may bleed over a couple of days because I really want you guys to see all of the steps so that you can do it on your own as well and you have all the information that you need. So in the meantime, let's get to our crafting news because I think we are ready to go with that one. Okay, so let's go over to our crafting news because we've got a couple of items to let you know about. Okay, so first we're going to go over to Iowa. And in Iowa, we've got a small but mighty quilting group that's stitching with a purpose. And the Quilting Friends of Northwest Iowa is a circle of about 10 women. And they've recently held their annual quilt show at their local church. And they filled the room with over 100 handmade quilts, fun boutique finds, and tables of scraps, tools, and treasures. But the real gift was that every dollar raised went to support family crisis centers. And this is an organization that helps people face domestic violence, homelessness, and other serious hardships. Now, some visitors donated money, others bought cleaning supplies to enter the raffle for a gorgeous quilt that was called Winter Seams. Now, the quilt show started in someone's living room, and now it's just grown into something beautiful. It's not just fabric in there, it's all heart. So they even get materials donated through their local thrift store, and that's part of the Crisis Center. It's a two-way blessing of the store supports the quilters, and the quilters give right back to the community. Isn't that amazing? I love that. All right, we're going to head over, let's see, out of St. Petersburg, Florida. So across the country, more and more people are turning to thrift stores in order to save money and spark creativity. One of them is Brooklyn Karasak from St. Petersburg, Florida. And by day, she's an auditor, but by night, she's a DIY queen with over 800,000 followers. She sews one-of-a-kind pieces from secondhand finds, and she likes to turn old pillowcases into a stylish tote bag. Everything that she does is with her grandma's sewing machine, and she's not alone. So with the prices rising and thrift stores are just booming, right? People are going back to sewing, which is really awesome. Younger folks, especially, are picking up the new sewing needles, and they have places like Sew Pinellas, and they're seeing classes really fill up, right? They're just packed with people that are just eager to learn. So thrifting, again, it's not all about saving money. It's about being creative and showing expression. So I thought that was really cool how people are just kind of like getting back into sewing and learning to do all kinds of things and be very creative. I think that's wonderful. So those are the two stories that I have for you there on our crafty news. So now let's kind of flip over to our project and get started with this. So I'm going to move some of these things over to the side, and I'm going to take out a couple of things. So these are some of the fabrics that I was able to kind of pull out that I think I would want to use for this particular wall hanging that we're going to do, right? So the book actually tells you to get like a cream colored fabric and a tan. And, you know, we like to change things up all the time. So I was looking to see what I had for cream, what I had for tan. And then I kind of ran into this fat quarter that I have here. And it does have a couple here that I thought would work nice. So I'm trying to decide which one it is that I'm going to use. But then, of course, I ran into this fabric and I thought this was just gorgeous. But I'll leave this one more for a Halloweenish type of quilt because I thought the color was just gorgeous. So we've got some of these here that are really nice, but I think at the end of the day, and I do have a bee fabric in here, that's not going to work. But I do need, since we have 3 pieces, I'm going to need that bottom piece, I'm going to need the top piece, and then I'm going to need the stem. And if you look at the picture in the book, you've got 2 different colors. Let me see if I show you the cover, maybe it's easier. So you've got the top block here that measures at about 6.5 inches finished. And then you've got the bottom 6.5 inches finished also. You've got this cream colored on the top, and then you've got the tan on the bottom. You've got the acorn itself has a little bit of design on the actual bottom piece, and then the top is something similar. And then you've got the little stems on the top. So let me bring that up so you guys can see that better. So you see how it kind of has that offset. So I do have to pick a light and a dark. I'm not so focused on the color itself that they're using. I'm kind of focused on the contrast itself. So the top 6.5 inch square is very, very light, and the bottom is darker. So the top will be my light one, bottom will be my darker one. And then the acorn itself, really it's just the topper that's dark. The stem, I guess, could just be slightly off. And then the bottom of the acorn can pretty much be anything you want it to be, as long as it is contrasting with the background fabric. So that's what I'm going to do. And I know people struggle a lot with picking fabrics and, you know, whatnot with their design, which is why they sell these kits, right? So you don't even have to think about the fabric choices that you're making. You can just go straight to the kit and follow it, and it'll come out exactly as seen on in the kit, right? It comes out perfect. So yeah, this is pretty neat that you could do that. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig into my little fat quarter here. And I kind of like 2 of these fabrics that I think will go well together. I'm going to see if I can pull them out because it's kind of knotted here, so I couldn't get it out earlier. Let's see. I'm going to pull this one here. So we've got this one here. That could be as a tan. And then we've got this one here that could be the cream. So you see how you have that little contrast. Now I can go a little bit lighter and use this one, but it kind of resembles a little too much like white. And I don't want that to be, right? It's a little too white for what I want this wall hanging to be. So I'm not going to go with this one. I'm going to go with this kind of cream colored and this little bit of tan. And then for the topper and the little stem, I may go something a little darker. We could do something like this with a little bit of a design to it as the topper. And then maybe the stem could just be something like this. And this is where I just like to kind of lay out my fabrics, making sure things contrast each other and thinking about how it's going to lay out. And I think this will work. I could go even darker if I wanted to for the stem, but I wanted to have kind of a little realistic look. So I think this may be, it could be a little too dark, but it could work either way. So I could go either way for the stem on these two. So we'll keep these two out just in case. I may kind of flip-flop back and forth, or maybe I can do the top part of the quilt block with one stem and then the other with another. So let's see what we do, because the rest of them, I think, we're good. We're not going to use any of these. So I'm going to put these to the side. Okay. Actually, I'm going to put them inside this little baggie here that I have. I like to kind of protect my fabrics there. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go with this. And so first we're going to deal with the background. And so we're going to go ahead with these two. And I'm going to open these up. Now, the finished size, it tells us, was 6.5 squared. But like I said, we're going to be using the quilt as you go method. So I do have to be a little bit careful because I need enough fabric to be able to account for not just having the 6.5 inch square, but because I'm doing the quilt as you go method, I'm going to be quilting in between, and when you're quilting, it's going to eat up some of your fabric and kind of shrink it, right? So we do have to have this a little bit bigger than what we need. And then I also have to account for the seam allowance when I sew the two blocks together. So even though finished size to me is 6.5 is what they're, I'm sorry, cutting instructions from what they're telling you is 6.5. But I'm going to do a little larger than that. I don't want to do just the 6.5 because I think that's going to be an issue. It's going to come out way too small. After I've quilted, it's going to shrink. Once I sew the two blocks together, it's also going to shrink. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. I'd rather have more than less, because more, you can always trim it off. But if you have less, you're in trouble because there's no adding fabric to it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and leave it a little larger than what they're calling for. I think I'm going to go maybe to about 8 inches just to kind of keep it a little bit free. I may even do more. So let's see. I'm going to iron this up, and then I'm going to just kind of use this. And I'm going to put the two of them together, and I'm going to try to iron them together. We're going to put a little bit of starch on here and get it all prepped up, okay? So let me pull some of this stuff over to the side and clear up some space here. Okay, I'm going to move all of these things here. And I'm sure you guys kind of do this as well in your crafting rooms. You know, make sure that before you start a project, you kind of clear up your space so you have space to work with, right? And I think some of us kind of struggle with that sometimes. So yeah, I like to kind of move things out of the way because I need it to be a nice clear area that I can start with. So I'm going to grab my little iron back here. I've got my little iron as well. I prefer my bigger ironing board, but we're going to kind of do it with this one just because I don't have too much space and I don't want to kind of disrupt everything here. So we'll do it with the little iron. We'll be fine. And then I'm going to use a little bit of starch here. Let me grab this one. I think today I'm going to use my Mary Ellen's Best Press. So this is kind of a light starch. Now, I would have preferred to kind of starch my fabric maybe yesterday and just leave it hanging overnight. Or, you know, at least have the starch sit there for a little bit. But because, you know, we've got just a short amount of time in the morning, I really didn't have a chance to do that. So although I would prefer, I would prefer for it to kind of stay longer, I really don't have that kind of time, right? So this is not ideal, but we'll kind of do what we can with this. So I'm going to go ahead and just take my starch, and I'm just going to lightly spray because I don't want to do too much. Just lightly spray it here, and then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to spray it in the back. And guys, you always want to start with a flat piece of fabric. Don't just take it out of the bolt or of the fat quarter pack, because you see all of these creases here and you think, that's not too bad. I'll just kind of, you know, work around it. No, guys, it does interrupt the sewing, and it does, you know, make a difference on your finished product. So you want to make sure that you have this nice and flat. You want to work with a flat piece of fabric. So I'm going to go ahead, just do that. And I'm just kind of spraying around, and I'm not going to go too crazy with it just because of lack of time. But preferably, I would have just kind of sprayed that and then just let it sit for a little before I even hit it with the iron. So I'm going to just try to air dry it just a little bit, maybe give it a little bit of a wave, because you really want the liquid to kind of go into the fibers of your fabric, because that's what's really going to hold it kind of stiff so that you can do the sewing and everything on there. So I think we're going to go ahead. Let's see if my iron has gotten hot just yet. It's not quite there yet. It's getting there. And I'm going to slide this here. And you're just going to press it. You're just going to kind of get those little folds out of the way. And then we're going to just kind of start with that flat piece of fabric. So let's see. I think we're hot now. Yeah, I think we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and just press it. I really just want to get the folds off. And I'm doing this for those that are working on a really small space. You know, don't use that as your excuse. I have a very small space as well. And you just got to have patience and do things a little bit at a time. You know, we all have our little small spaces because we've got all our little gadgets and things that kind of take up a lot of space, right? So you just got to, you know, do it little by little. I know for those that have bigger spaces, they can just do this in no time. But you just take it a section at a time and go ahead and give it a press. Okay. I like to kind of do up and down motions with my iron, just to kind of keep the fibers where I want them to be. I don't want to swish all over the place. We want to keep the fibers going kind of in the same direction. Okay. Here we go. So we're just going to keep doing that. And just kind of iron that in place. And you can see all the wrinkles coming out pretty quickly. Just remember that, you know, if you start ironing and swishing all over the place, like going all over the place like this, you're going to kind of, you got to think of the fibers, right? You don't want the fibers to be everywhere. You want them to be kind of relaxed. So by you doing the same motion of up and down, it kind of helps the fabric, the fibers to kind of fall into that one place that you want it to be. You don't want them falling this way when you're really just ironing up and down. So we'll do that. We're almost there. And we're on our last part here. There we go. There we are. Nice and flat. Then just give it a little inspection here. Just look to see if you see any folds, and I think we are good. So I'm just going to grab my second piece, and I'm going to lay this one down. There we go. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the second piece. And then we're going to be ready to cut in no time. There we go. And some fabrics are a little lighter than others, so that you can really see the folds. When you've got those darker fabrics, sometimes it's a little harder to see. So some people think when they take it out of the package, you know, oh, it doesn't look like it's too wrinkly, I can just go ahead and start. No, you do need to iron them. Okay, it will help. There you go. And it's a good little workout in the morning, right? Alrighty. So guys, I hope you guys had a wonderful Father's Day weekend. And I hope you guys were able to spend time with your loved ones. If you did, let me know what you guys did in the chat. I'd love to know what you did. Did anything unusual, something unique with your dad? And if you made something and gifted it to him, that's pretty cool. We kind of had a really quiet Father's Day here. We didn't do too much. We kind of just mostly stayed home and just, you know, enjoy the peace, peace and quiet, and not having to kind of go out, which was really nice because sometimes you just need that little bit of a break, right? You just don't want to deal with all the hustle and bustle that's out there. Okay. Alrighty, we are just about done here. Here we go. Alright. Grab one little corner right here. Okay, so we've got this all ironed. I'm going to lay them flat here. And I think we're just about ready to cut. So I'm going to set this over to the side here. And we can cut these together or we can cut them separate. If you can line them up. But as you can see now, I've got my selvage, and I'm going to do it from this side. Yep. I've got my selvage here, and I'm going to line them both up. And you kind of want to use your selvage because that's about as straight as you're going to get on here. And I want to line them up, but I want to show you, kind of prove to you guys. These are fat quarters. And I want you to see on here, see how it's not cut? This, my top area, my selvages are completely lined up together. Okay? But you can see here, this is not cut straight. Okay, so we've got some fixing to do here. And then I bet if you turn it over to this side, this one's kind of a little harder to see. But this is where it ends right here. So you've got quite a gap here and down here as well. So they are not cut in the same dimension. You can see it right here. There's about 1/2 inch here difference, and maybe about a little bit, maybe more than 1/4, almost 1/2 inch here. So it's not cut exactly to size, and I have it lined up here on the selvage. So if I, you know, adjust this way, either way that I try to line this up, it is not going to be lined up because they are completely off. So there is some trimming that we need to do to get these all squared up. And so even if I do it on the top, you'll see the difference down here. And it's about a 1/2 inch either way. So let's do some cleanup work, shall we? So I'm going to go ahead and line this back up here again. And I just kind of drop the fabric, let it fall, give it a little bit of a shake. And then I'm going to just lay it flat. And I'll start in the middle, just kind of with my hand, just gently, you know, don't want to pull it either way, but I want to make sure that this is nice and flat. Okay. So we're going to definitely have to fix this. Now, I can just kind of take this and fold it just to make one little cut. We can do that. So I folded it over. And then this is completely off, like all 4 pieces are off. So we're going to have to trim this off first. And then I'm going to trim my edges here on the side. Okay, so let's take our long ruler. And I am left-handed, so I'll be cutting with my dominant hand. So I'm going to be having this way, but if you're right-handed, you would have it the fold. The fold would be on your left-hand side, and you'd be cutting with your right here. So I see all 4 fabrics here. And I want to line this up. So I'm going to use my cutting mat to line up as best as I can. But I know that this bottom and the top are not really lined up. So I have to kind of make my own. So I'm just making sure that all 4 pieces here are outside of my ruler, because this is where I'm going to cut. And I want to cut the least amount that I need to. So I'm going to just line this up here. And I know that my fold is good. So I'm going to take my fold and line up just the fold of my fabric with my cutting mat. So I'm just making sure that my fold is right down this line so that I know this part is straight. So if this part is straight, then I can just go over here and look to see what do I need to cut, what pieces are sticking out. And I've got all 4 sides here. That'll get rid of my selvage. And so I'm lining up my ruler with my cutting mat. Since this fold is straight and it's kind of lined up with my cutting mat, I'm going to use my cutting mat. And I'm going to line up my ruler with the cutting mat, because I know I can't trust the fabric, right? So I have to trust my cutting mat here. So once I have that all in place, I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm just going to go ahead and cut this piece off. So just double check here. Ideally, I like to stand up so I can kind of see. So I'm just going to kind of do it this way, but you definitely want to be able to look to see that your top part of the ruler is lined up as well as your bottom. So I'm going to hold this down, press down with my rotary cutter, and travel all the way across with my rotary cutter. And then you have to kind of see, let's see, did I cut through all the way? No. So we'll do this again since I haven't moved anything. And it's a little difficult because I'm sitting down. So let's see, there we go. Okay, so this is what we've cut off, which is the selvage pretty much. But now we know that we have one side of our fabric straight, and then we've got the fold that's straight. So now what we can do is rotate this to the side. And again, I'm going to line up my fold with the cutting mat going across. And now, as you can see here, you can see a little bit of the brown fabric in here and on the other side. So we know our sides are just, they need to be trimmed. All right, so look, we're going to take the ruler here again. And now that I have my fold lined up with my cutting mat, and I've already cut this side too. Now I can make sure that my ruler lines up with the fabric and the cutting mat. We're all on the same line here. And I want to bring this to the edge where I can see I'm able to cut off all pieces, right? You want to make sure that inside the fold, you don't have a piece of fabric that is shorter than what you're cutting. So just make sure you can see them all. If you can't, just kind of go back a little bit. Okay, just move this ruler just a tad and just make sure that you're getting all of the pieces here. And that's what you're going to trim off. So we've got this all lined up here, this one, and we're ready to go. So again, take your rotary cutter and let's do the cut. Okay. And it's like my blade is a little dull, so I'm going to have to do another pass. But one thing to know as you cut it, once you're done cutting it, before you start moving your fabric around, you may have a dull blade like I do. I have a little dull blade here that I need to change. But because I haven't moved anything, I can go ahead and do another pass. Where some people, they just cut it and then they start moving and then they realize, oh, I have places that my rotary cutter didn't cut. Don't move anything until you have pushed the fabric that you've cut away. So just press down. Again, we'll do another cut. And part of it is because I'm sitting down as well, so it's a little bit more difficult. And so this is the piece that we were able to cut off. And so now this is squared with my fold, and on here is squared as well. So now we can kind of move to the other side. So get rid of this. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this with my hand. And I'm going to go ahead and line it up. Here we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my ruler. At this point, you don't need to use the really big ruler. If you've got a smaller one that you're more comfortable with. But I prefer to kind of keep it that way. I don't like to kind of switch rulers as I go. And I want to make sure that I'm lined up here. Just a pinch here and a pinch there. And then I'm going to line up on the other side. And I think that'll be good. Let's see. Yep, there's some pieces that didn't get cut the first time. So there we go. So you push this away. I know that it made its cut. I push this part away and now I can move things around. Okay. So there we are. Nice and squared off. And now we can go ahead and cut the size that we want. And so I'll do a quick little measure here. So we've got about 11 inches there, and at about 17 3/4, just about. So I can subcut it down, knowing that my finished size is going to be 6.5 inch squared, but I think I'm going to want to do at least 7.5 to 8 inches. So I may just kind of do that and leave it at that, right? So maybe let's go back to the fold here. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it, kind of subcut it down to that size. So we're going to start on this end here. And right here, I've got about 10.5, 11. And so I may just go over here and let's see. Try to line this back up again. So if we want to be really generous, we can cut it into a 10-inch square. And that'll really allow us to have a lot of different things. Cindy's asking, why worry about it if you're only cutting an 8x8 inch square of each fabric? Well, because I'm going to be using the quilt as I go method. And so because I'm going to do quilt as I go, when I start quilting this, I'm going to start shrinking my fabric, because what I plan on doing is just kind of doing a little lines that I'm going to draw going across this way and then going this way. So as I start to sew, that's going to shrink my fabric in, because I'm going to be doing a 1/4 inch a seam allowance here coming all the way across. I'm going to have rows of the stitching that I'm doing this way, and then I'm going to have rows doing this way. And each one of those is going to shrink my fabric a little bit more, because you have to accommodate for the thread that is going to shrink this down. And we're making these little pockets, right? So because of that, I can't just do 6.5 inches and not accommodate for all that quilting that's going to happen in between. So I want to be very generous to have that extra fabric, so that as I quilt and it starts to shrink, when I'm done quilting, you're going to see there's going to be a difference in the size, because that thread is eating up each row that I do, and each column is going to eat up the thread, and it's going to shrink it down. And so I want to still have somewhat of a 6.5 inch size when I'm done. So because of that, I want to put that extra fabric in. I know it's going to shrink, and then I also need to accommodate for the 1/4 inch seam allowance that I'm going to need to be able to kind of attach the two blocks together. So that's why I'm kind of doing this a little bit bigger than what I need, because I know that I want to just, do all that quilting in here. And that's why I'm accommodating for that. So what I think, just to make it easy on myself, I'm going to go ahead and just cut this out at about 10 inches this way. And let's see, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and maybe about 10 inches. So let's just use a 10-inch square and see what we can get with that. And I may have a little bit extra at the end to cut off, but I'd rather have a little bit extra to kind of square off than leave myself too short and then not be able to, kind of do it the way I wanted to, because I kind of ran out of fabric, because it will start to shrink. So let's go ahead and cut it at the 10-inch squared amount. So let me move this over here. And I'm just going to line it up with the end here. Pretty much. Oop, there we go. And we're going to line it up on the 10-inch mark. There we go. I think that'll be good. And again, I'm sitting down, so I'm not giving it as much pressure as I should. Because ideally you like to be standing up. And so then I pull this away just to see, and it looks like I got a little bit right here that didn't cut. There we go. Okay. So we've got this extra piece, and now I'm going to move that to the side. Now we have this on the fold, so I am going to trim just a hair of that fold. Okay. And I want to open that up because I don't need 4. Actually, yes, I'm going to leave the fold because I do want 4 little pieces. So let's go ahead and trim that off. I'm going to turn it around. And so it's going to be slightly shorter than the 10 inches, but that's okay. Just going to move this over a tad. And then I'll go ahead and just snip this off. This one's really going to be tough to do without standing up. Here we go. Not too bad. Okay. So there are our cuts, and I think now we're going to be ready to go. And I'm going to cut my batting to be the same size. And I'm going to be using this warm and natural batting, and I'm going to cut them to the same size. And then tomorrow we're going to be all set to just start quilting. And hopefully our sew cam will be back up and running. Okay, so just continue to join me on my journey here, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to turn out really nice. And, you know, hopefully you guys can do your own as well. So tomorrow we will continue and start to kind of quilt this and get this going. So let's go over to our segment of the day, because I want to get in our quilting so we can grab our inspiration here. So let's go to the inspirational quote of the day, which is, "What begins as a pattern becomes a story stitched with the very best intentions." So we're starting our new journey here with our new project, and I hope you guys really join me along. So I know we are out of time, and sorry for all the camera issues we had today. Hopefully tomorrow will be a better day, and we'll be able to start quilting this, because I wanted to talk to you about a few things on that. So thanks you guys for joining. I know Power Tools with Thread should be coming on shortly, so let's go head over to her channel and show her some support. Thanks again for tuning in, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.
So long for now, so long. Glad you stayed a while. Hope you liked my crafting style. Hope I left you with a smile. By now, keep your mind and space clutter-free. Hope your day is bright as can be. So long, my friends, till we craft once again. Bye now, stay crafting. See you tomorrow. So long, my friends, till we craft once again.